Chapter 2181, The Past Life 106-inch. What are you guys standing there for? Stop her. Prince Mint's eyes became even more bloodshot, especially when he saw that the guards did not move. He became even more furious. His anger poured like a flood, he could not even control it. Those guards could not say anything. Not only could they not move, but they also could not even say a word as their eyes were filled with horror. Seeing little Nine walking toward Lulan, Prince Mint's heart became more anxious as he turned to Mui again. Mui! You must make her stop immediately. Otherwise, I will make your emperor's son-in-law's house disappear from this world as well, he shouted with endless anger and grief. Mui's face turned pale, and just as he opened his mouth, Sima Yen turned coldly to Mui. I advise you to better not say anything. Otherwise, you will live the rest of your life in regret. Otherwise, you will live the rest of your life in regret. Mui closed his eyes sorrowfully. Sima Yen was right, he would regret it because he was already regretting it right now. If he had listened to his mother and made little Nine leave Fengyun Kingdom, it would not have become like this. However, he still wanted little Nine to come back. If I could turn back time, Mui opened his eyes. I would have made little Nine leave and not let her stay here. That way, nothing would have happened to her, and nothing would have happened to Lulan. No one would have put the emperor's son-in-law's manor in such a difficult position. In the end, it was all because I felt I owed her too much before and wanted to make amends, so I wasn't decisive enough. I was not decisive enough. From little Nine targeting Mu Qingya, he could tell what kind of person little Nine was, but in the end, he was still soft-hearted. He instead ignored the fact that she had a vicious character. In the end, it caused an irreparable fault. So, little Nine, please do not make one mistake after another. I know you do not like the Mu family and do not want to go back with me, but you must think about yourself. No matter how strong that servant is by your side, there are still many skilled masters in Fengyun Kingdom. If you continue to do it, I am afraid that your end will be very miserable. This was his last warning to his daughter as a father. He hoped she could repent and not make the same mistake again. The ninth emperor acted as if she did not hear his words. She raised her hand and snatched Lulan from the servant's arms. Without mercy, she threw her to the ground. The back of Lulan's head landed on the ground with a thud, as clear as a bell, and it made Prince Mint's eyes even redder. He gritted his teeth. Little Nine, stop it in the name of the emperor. The ninth emperor acted as if she could not even hear the words. She twisted the cap off a bottle and fed it to Lulan. Me for extra chapters. Prince Mint's body trembled with anger. Little Nine had killed Laner, and now she wanted to poison her. But, in the very next moment, Lulan, who was still lying on the ground, gradually opened her eyes. The back of her head was hurting, and she frowned in pain. The whole street was quiet. Prince Mint's eyes widened as he stared incredulously at Lulan, who sat up from the ground in dismay. Princess Qingluo and her daughter froze. Impossible. How can Lulan still be alive? The poison they had given to Lulan was strong, the kind that would surely kill her. However, they did not know when Lulan could find little Nine, so it was a fast-acting poison. It was a poison that reacted slowly. Chapter 2182, The Past Life 107. Seeing that the time was almost over, they knew that she would die later, but why did she wake up again? Mu Qingya's face flashed with panic as she bit her lips hard. No, even if she woke up, no one will know that we have poisoned her. They will say that little Nine saved Lulan to save her own life. That's all. It's a pity that this little Nine still escaped this calamity. People like her deserve to die. She took a deep breath and looked at the ninth emperor with hatred in her gaze. However, at this moment, the ninth emperor did not even look at her and directly dragged Lu Lan up from the ground. Yes, she dragged her up, tugging on the lapels without a hint of gentleness. However, perhaps because of the shock and surprise from watching Lu Lan wake up, Prince Min did not notice anything wrong with little Nine's current behavior. After a few minutes later, Lu Lan regained her senses and shouted angrily, "Little Nine, how dare you hurt me? It seems that Qingya was right. You've been bullying her all these days. Do you think that my cousin is that easy to bully? If cousin Qingya hadn't come to me and told me that she had suffered so much, I wouldn't have come to settle the score with you." She raised her chin, and her voice was filled with sarcasm. "I'll be honest with you. This time, it was Qingya who asked me to find you. You must go and apologize to her. Admit your mistake and leave Fengyun Kingdom. Otherwise, I'll have my grandfather tie you up and throw you out." Mu Yi's brain buzzed and stiffened as he turned to look at Mu Qingya. Did Lu Lan say that it was Mu Qingya who told her to find little Nine? Why? His lips trembled, and his gaze was filled with disbelief. Qingya, you? Qingya was well aware of Lu Lan's temper, so why would she ask Lu Lan to come to disturb little Nine? Little Nine was not a good-tempered person, so how could she not do something to her? Moreover, earlier, Qingya was still making excuses for little Nine, so why did she ask Lu Lan to come? Mu Qingjia's face was pale, and an imperceptible resentment flashed through her eyes. This Lu Lan was a big-breasted idiot. She had betrayed her. If she were not the granddaughter of Prince Min, who had a mighty strength, she would not use this stupid Lu Lan to deal with little Nine. Initially, she thought that Lu Lan would die and not expose her, but she did not expect her to come back to life and betray her. After Lu Lan said that, she found that there were already many people around staring at Qingya. Me for extra chapters. Even her grandfather was among them. She froze for a moment. Her face turned pale. She seemed to have exposed her cousin. However, if her grandfather knew that her cousin had asked her to come, would it cause people to misunderstand her cousin? She pursed her lips. "Grandfather, why are you here?" "I did not mean that Qingya was stirring up trouble. It's just that this little Nine is too much. She bullies my cousin. Since she is bullying our imperial family, we should teach her a lesson and not let her go so easily." Prince Min trembled in anger. He clenched his fists tightly. He looked up at Mu Qingya and growled, "What did my granddaughter do to you that made you treat her like this?" In this matter, little Nine was indeed the culprit. However, if Mu Qingya had not asked his granddaughter to come, things would not have escalated to this. Chapter 2183, The Past Life 108. So it's all their fault. These people deserve to die. Grandfather, you can't blame Qingya. Shut up. His voice was filled with suppressed anger. Do you know that you were almost killed by this woman just now? What he said made Lu Lan's face even paler as her eyes were filled with shock. I almost died. Indeed. She remembered that little Nine kicked her, and then she felt uncomfortable and spurted out a mouthful of blood. Then, she lost all consciousness. But why did grandfather say that I almost died? Impossible, I remember that she only kicked me. That won't kill me. Impossible, Lu Lan shook her head and took a few steps back. Her face was pale. This woman just kicked me once. That kick should not have killed me. She only kicked my chest. I can't be so weak, grandfather. You must be making up random excuses to blame my cousin. Just a kick. Sima Yen frowned. If the ninth emperor wants to kill someone, she bring her back to life again. Moreover, it's impossible for her to kill someone just by kicking them, although with her strength, it's not impossible to do so. But, how is it possible to kick the chest and cause death? Sima Yan hesitated for a moment and turned to the bemused ninth emperor. Maiden Mu, what is going on here? The ninth emperor shrugged. I have said that she was poisoned. Poisoned? Prince Min coldly laughed out loud. Do not think that just because you brought my granddaughter back to life that I will let you off. It is ridiculous to say that she was poisoned. Earlier, the physician has concluded that she was suffering from internal injuries. Perhaps because his granddaughter was still alive, Prince Min's murderous intent seemed to have faded by a lot, but the anger inside him did not diminish at all. Because, since little Nine had still hurt his granddaughter and almost killed her, she still had to pay the price. Even Mu Qingya must also be punished. However, Mu Qingya would receive lighter punishment, while this little Nine was deliberately trying to kill a person. What poison? Lu Lan's brain was still dumbfounded. How could I be poisoned? Are you saying that I took the poison myself to frame you? Although I don't know why you think I'm dying, as I'm still alive and well, so I can conclude that I was not poisoned. Lu Lan harumphed, turned around, and looked at Prince Min. Me for extra chapters. Grandfather. Qingya, Shi, Laner, don't say anything. No matter what, you almost died today. I won't let anyone who has harmed you go, whether it was unintentional or not, they have to pay the price. Prince Min took a deep breath and calmed his trembling heart. Just the thought of Lu Lan lying half dead on the ground just now made his heart throb fiercely. Fortunately, she did not die. Otherwise, his anger. No one in this world could stop him when he was angry. The ninth emperor saw the panic in Mu Qingya's eyes and smiled calmly. She ignored Mu Qingya before because to her, Mu Qingya was only a weak girl. She did not care about what Mu Qingya wanted to do to her. However, if this little girl wanted to trap her, then she was not so easily trapped. As for whether she is poisoned or not, the ninth emperor smiled faintly. She turned to the physician on the side. He knows better than anyone else. Chapter 2184, The Past Life 109. The physician froze. His face was pale, and his eyes filled with panic. But still, he gritted his teeth and said, I don't know what you're talking about. Are you sure you don't know? Little Nine sauntered toward the physician. Her calmness scared him. Or you can't admit it. The physician took a few steps back and looked at Mu Qingya with a pleading gaze. Mu Qingya gritted her teeth and stood out. Sister, you do not need to make things difficult for this physician. Is it fun to bully others? If you don't want to admit it, then I will admit it for you. Lu Lan, it is my fault. I, alone, am willing to take all the responsibility as long as you do not drag down my family. Is that enough? She looked serious, and her eyes were filled with determination. It made everyone look at her again. Mu Qingya's sorrowful tears flowed. I know that this is my fault. I shouldn't have gone to my cousin to rant. But these days, I have suffered too much, and I didn't dare to tell my father for fear of making him worried. But I am only human. I am also a normal person who will feel hurt and sad. I want to treat you as my sister, but why do you always target me? Just because your man has taken an interest in me. The crowd was surprised. Before this, everyone did not know why Little Nine targeted Mu Qingya. They did not expect that it was all for a man. Mu Qingya already had a future husband, Di Ming. So how could she possibly fall for Little Nine's man? It must be that the man was making a fool of her, and as a result, Little Nine had grown resentful toward her sister because of a man. A man. The ninth emperor froze for a moment, gazing blankly and looking at Mu Qingya in confusion. Are you talking about Nan Chongfeng? Nan Chongfeng, the tears in Mu Qingya's eyes were flowing like rivers. It's him. I don't like him, so why do you have to target me so much? It's him who has taken an interest in me. I didn't seduce him. I was so aggrieved that I approached my cousin to rant, and I asked her to come to you because I wanted to explain to you clearly. I didn't mean anything else, and I never thought you would hurt my cousin. Mukinjia's face was filled with deep pain, and there was regret and guilt in her eyes. This made Prince Min freeze, unable to blame her again. He thought that Mu Qingya was deliberately using Laner to get revenge, but he did not expect that she was afraid that little Nine would get even angrier after seeing her, so she had asked Laner to help. However, Laner misunderstood her and went to find little Nine to settle scores, which led to this. Me for extra chapters. Though, even if Mu Qingya was innocent, he still did not like her anymore. Regardless of whether Mu Qingya was at fault or not, it was a fact that she had almost dragged Laner down that he could not forgive her. Yet, he also had no excuse to punish her. Prince Min turned to look at little Nine. I didn't expect you to treat your sister like this. You are really vicious. Now, you're still excusing that it was Laner who was poisoned. Ridiculous. Sima Yan was somewhat dumbfounded. Mu Qingya said that the young man, who he had also seen before, liked her, but that young man's strength was also extraordinary. Even with just a glance, he could feel that the young man was quite powerful. Mu Qingya was saying that the young man had taken an interest in her. That was ridiculous. If the Ninth Emperor doesn't mind, why don't I destroy this face? The Ninth Emperor's face turned gloomy. But I like good-looking people. She liked good-looking people, that was why her girls were all beautiful. Back then, she had brought Nan Changfeng back because of his beauty. Then, Nan Changfeng smiled. I will still meet the Ninth Emperor with this face. If there are bad girls, I will go and chase them off so they cannot trouble you. The Ninth Emperor loves peace, so how can I let these people come and bother you? These two beautiful people were just like a divine couple. The crowd noticed that since the young man appeared, he only had eyes for little Nine alone. Not to mention Mu Qingya, he did not even look at others. It was like the others did not exist in his eyes. The jealousy in her was like ants gnawing at her heart, but she could not say anything, nor could she show it. Except for Tian Xian, who had been watching her, no one else noticed the flash of jealousy in her eyes. Tian Xian snorted. They did not like Nan Changfeng because Nan Changfeng had been bugging the Ninth Emperor, stealing time that belonged to them. But, Nan Changfeng was the Ninth Emperor's man. No one was allowed to peep at the Ninth Emperor's man. Master Changfeng only has my master in his eyes, Tian Xian spoke with a cold smile. I wonder why you think Master Changfeng likes you. Are you trying to make my master jealous? Tian Xian's words stunned Nan Changfeng. He looked at Mu Qingya blankly, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. Mu Qingya gritted her teeth and simply broke the jar in her hand. Because of my status. Sister, you may not know what kind of person he is. He wants to get power and nobility. That's why he has set his eyes on me. Once these words fell, not waiting for Nan Changfeng and the Ninth Emperor to speak, Sima Yan could not help but laugh out loud. Stealing the power and nobility from you. Mu Qingjia's face sank, and Mu Yi's face turned gloomy. Princess Qing Luo's gaze was filled with anger. Sima Yan is really too much. Qingya is a noble lady. Is she not powerful? It's normal for people to want to cling to her. Sima Yan sneered. Don't they know who is the Ninth Emperor? One was this mainland goddess, while the one is only a noble lady. She said he wanted to steal the power and nobility. Ridiculous. The Ninth Emperor sighed and turned to Nan Changfeng. I asked you to leave. See, now you have heard these things. In case you can't eat for a few days that you grow thin and starve, I will not be responsible. Nan Changfeng pursed his lips. I may not be able to accompany you for a few days with meals, but you do not have to worry that I will starve. I can use the spirit herbs to grow fatter. If I become thin, I'm afraid you will not like me. His voice was a bit condescending, and the gaze he used to look at the ninth emperor was flooded with aggression. Me for extra chapters. Mu Qingya clenched her fists tightly. What did this Nan Changfeng mean? Why was it impossible for him to eat? So many young men in Fengyun Kingdom like her. It was expected for Nan Changfeng to fall for her. If he did not like her, there was no need to humiliate her like this. Mu Qingya's smile faded. Then, it seems that I have misunderstood. After all, every time I went to meet my sister, you would always stare at me. I thought you liked me and that my sister had misunderstood. You suddenly acted differently in front of so many people, and I did not expect you to say such things. Whatever your intention, I can't marry you, and I won't steal the person that my sister likes. There was no way she would let these people here have a chance to deny it. After the others heard these words, they somewhat understood the situation. It seemed that this young man was different in front of people. He did not want to be scolded, so he deliberately pretended to only like one girl. Such a person was more frightening. Prince Min frowned. I don't care what grudges you held before. This is my granddaughter's business. Little Nine, you hurt my granddaughter. Do you think I will easily let you go? No one could touch her granddaughter. Lu Lan was dumbfounded when she saw Nan Changfeng. She was almost staring at his figure. Chapter 2187, The Past Life 112. Nan Changfeng frowned as he seemed to be aware of her gaze. He looked slightly unhappy. That displeasure quickly turned into cold. Because, he had already seen that woman walking toward him. Qingya is loyal. She already has someone she likes. She can't accept you. So how about you follow me back? Later. Prince Min frowned. Lu Lan pursed her lips. Grandfather, he is the best-looking man I have ever seen. I don't care if he is trying to steal power or is greedy for wealth. It is not like we can't afford to give them to him. Anyway, I want to marry him. I almost died just now, so shouldn't you just make it up to me? Prince Min was helpless. Fine, fine. After I settle the matter here, I will arrange an engagement for you later. Just as he said that, he saw that the snow-colored robed young man had already let go of Little Nine's hand and was walking toward his granddaughter. Prince Min had some disdain in his eyes as he sneered. Look, as soon as he heard that someone from the imperial family was willing to accept him, he immediately abandoned Little Nine. This man is simply useless except for his good looks. When will my granddaughter be able to have some brains like Mu Qingya and not be confused by beauty? Just as Prince Min wanted to look away from the young man, that young man set off a fierce wind, and with a boom, it blew Lu Lan away. Lu Lan had previously suffered a kick to her chest. Her head was still hurting from after Little Nine threw her. With this fall, her bones felt like they were about to break. Tears were streaming down her face. Prince Min turned and saw his granddaughter falling to the ground and growled, Nan Changfeng, what are you doing? Nan Changfeng glanced at Prince Min coldly. He gradually raised his hand. At that moment, a powerful force came crashing down. Prince Min, who was the strongest in the people's eyes, fell aside with a loud thud and was spitting blood, without any ability to resist Nan Changfeng's attack. The street, once again, was quiet. Everyone stared dumbfoundedly at the young man, with a shock in their eyes. This is not like a person who wanted to cling to power and nobility. Young Lady Lu Lan is willing to take him, so why does he still attack her? Is it because Lulan is not as excellent as Qingya? Perhaps he likes Qingya because he saw Qingjia's excellence. Not because of her status. But noble lady has misunderstood and said that he wanted to steal the power and nobility from her. Mu Qingjia's face turned pale as she looked at Nan Chongfeng, stunned. At this moment, her body trembled slightly. Nan Chongfeng could defeat Prince Min. Me for extra chapters. How can such a person be on Little Nine's side? She really could not understand this. To her, a person like Little Nine did not deserve such a man. At this moment, someone spoke. That elegant and stunning voice was like a heavy rock, smashing everyone's heart. Mu Qingya, I have allowed you to leave the Emperor's son-in-law's manor not for you to find trouble with Little Nine. A handsome and dignified man in a purple robe rushed from behind the crowd. The moment she saw Di Ming appear, Mu Qingjia's face turned even paler. She had made sure that Di Ming had gone out today before she made her move, but why did he come back? Desperation surged to her mind. She and Princess Qing Luo exchanged glances, but both saw panic in each other's eyes. Di Ming's return was unexpected, and that made their heart beat faster. Chapter 2188, The Past Life 113-inch Master D. Why is Master D here? Isn't he Mu Qingjia's future husband? Why is he helping Little Nine? I heard that Master D and Little Nine are childhood friends. So, they must have had a good relationship in the past. Now that Little Nine is back, have they rekindled their childhood romance? What about Noble Lady? Will she be abandoned? Nan Chongfeng fell in love with Noble Lady, and Little Nine is jealous. So she must have secretly tried to seduce Master D. Such a woman is not worth Master D's cherishing. Future husband, these few words made Di Ming's face darken. He hurriedly looked at Little Nine, afraid that she might misunderstand again. However, Little Nine's gaze was locked on Nan Chongfeng and did not look at him at all, making his heart gradually turn cold. He turned to look at Mu Qingya. His face was cold and sullen, not giving her any chance. How could the person who fell in love with Little Nine still have a feeling for you? Although Nan Chongfeng displeases me, and he pesters Little Nine all day long, yet, I don't think that he will ever fall for you. The man sounded sarcastic, and the cold aura made Mu Qingjia's heart tremble. Mu Qingya closed her eyes in pain, and her whole body trembled incessantly. This was in public, but Master D still dared to embarrass her. His heart was only for Little Nine alone. In fact, Di Ming raised his gaze. His voice was cold. You do not deserve to be compared with Little Nine. You are not worthy, and you are not qualified to be compared at all. Anne. I am not your future husband. I have never promised you anything and never agreed to it. These words, like a thunderstorm, made everyone present dumbfounded. Even Prince Min was stunned. Earlier, facing Sima Yan, he was in no way conceited, but the person in front of him was Master D. He was the strongest person in this kingdom. The person that even the Emperor did not dare to offend. If he wanted to protect Little Nine, then Prince Min clenched his fists tightly. He felt very reluctant as he looked at Little Nine angrily. Chongfeng, you wait for me here. The Ninth Emperor smiled at Nan Chongfeng as she took a step toward those in front of her. Nan Chongfeng did not move. He quietly stared at the Ninth Emperor's figure with a smile, and his eyes were filled with tenderness. Me for extra chapters. As if the Ninth Emperor would never care for Di Ming, much less to take a glance at him, she walked straight up to that physician from Mu Manor. It's fine if you do not tell the truth. But, later, I will ask Sima Yan to go to the palace and find another physician to come over to check her body. After all, that toxin has not been removed yet, so it can still be discovered. She smiled threateningly. She had said that no one could accuse her. Initially, with her strength, it would have been easy to deal with these people, but she was unwilling to blame people, and only when the blames were settled could she do so. The physician was stunned, and panic flashed in his eyes. Who knows if what you just gave her to drink was poisonous? The smile in the Ninth Emperor's eyes grew brighter. It does not matter. When she is poisoned, the other physician can also find out. If it is proven that you are involved in this attempt to kill her, then, these words completely made that physician panic. He flopped onto his knees, his face pale. The Ninth Emperor was right. Any random physician could easily diagnose it. The reason why he had dared to say that earlier was because of the trust that Prince Min had in the Emperor's son-in-law's family. Prince Min would not have thought that someone from the Emperor's son-in-law's manor would want to frame little Nine. A random person could easily find the reason. Based on the Emperor's attitude, it was already apparent that Prince Min was someone he could not afford to provoke. Prince Min, please spare my life. Prince Min, spare my life. It was noble Lady Mu Qingya who ordered me to do so. She asked me to follow the Emperor's son-in-law here. I also could not say that Lu Lan is poisoned and could only say that she had an internal injury, or else she will kill me. Prince Min, I beg you to spare my life. I did not mean to do so. These words were shocking. The people present were confused for a while. Mu Yi's brain buzzed, blank. His gaze stunned, looking at the physician, and for a long time, he could not come back to his senses. Silence. The whole street was quiet and silent. Even Prince Min's neck was a little stiff. He turned around, dazed, and his gaze fell upon Mu Qingya's body. Just now, the Mu family physician said that Laner was poisoned. But Mu Qingya already knew that she was poisoned, so she ordered the physician to lie. But how did Mu Qingya already know that Laner was poisoned? Unless she's the one who gave the poison. Prince Min's expression changed dramatically, and his eyes were filled with anger. Mu Qingya took a long time to come back to her senses. Then, she flew over to that physician and tugged his lapel. Her voice was all tinged with grief and pain. Why do you want to frame me? Is it because of my sister? I said long ago that I was willing to take responsibility for her. But I can't tolerate her setting me up like this just to push the blames back at me. In this last sentence, she was hissing it out, causing everyone around her to freeze. Looking at Mu Qingya's expression, she looked like she was wronged, grief-stricken, and with disbelief. She probably also did not believe that Lu Lan was poisoned. It was hard to say, however, Di Ming was protecting little Nine. She certainly would not die with his protection. Perhaps then, she would also find this physician later to settle stuff. The physician rebellion was also normal. Prince Min, every word I said is true. Undoubtedly, noble lady asked me to lie. Lu Lan is poisoned. If I do not say it is an internal injury, noble lady will not let me go. Please, Prince Min. Forgive me. The physician kowtowed frantically, panic and fear filled his voice. Me for extra chapters. Prince Min slowly closed his eyes, his body was trembling. After half a second, he opened his eyes and turned to Mu Qingya. Mu Qingya, tell me. Is what he said true or not? Mu Qingya slowly released her hand and staggered to stand up from the ground with a bitter smile and a resolute look on her stunningly beautiful face. If my sister says I did it, then I did it. She gradually closed her eyes until a long time before she opened them and looked at the Ninth Emperor. I know you want me to take the responsibility. Fine. I will take all the responsibility, as long as you are happy. As long as you are happy. Tian Xian's eyes widened. She had never seen anyone that could say these words so righteously. And only Mu Qingya was able to be shameless to this extent. It was an eye-opening experience for her. The ninth emperor squeezed Nan Changfeng's hand and smiled faintly, indicating that he did not have to do anything. She could handle things on her own. After calming Nan Changfeng down, she walked toward Mu Qingya. Chapter 2190, The Past Life 115. As she approached Mu Qingya, her cold aura grew heavier with strong oppression. Mu Qingya was afraid to the point that she could not even say a word as shock filled her gaze. As if a hand was around her neck, she felt very uncomfortable that she almost suffocated. Mu Qingya's face was pale, and she could not help but take a few steps back. Her body trembled, and the panic in her eyes was so obvious. Do you think you are worthy for me to frame you? She raised her hand and pulled Mu Qingya up. A cold smile grew on her face as her eyes darkened. Qingya. Princess Qingluo looked at the ninth emperor and screamed angrily. You! Let go of Qingya. Let go of her immediately. Someone, go and kill her. Kill her for me. Mu Yi's body trembled. He still trusted Qingya more than little Nine. Qingya could not possibly do something like poisoning and framing others. Little Nine, let your sister go. Let her go. His voice was filled with pain and hatred. The ninth emperor smirked and did not even look at others. Her gaze was fixed upon Mu Qingya. Indeed, Sima Yen smiled as he stepped forward and slowly walked toward the ninth emperor. With her ability, if she didn't like someone, it would be impossible for her to accuse her. Rather, she would kill her. Mu Yi looked at Sima Yen incredulously. Sima Yen was from Fengyun Kingdom, but how could he be so indifferent to the danger Qingya was in? General Sima. Little Nine is indeed powerful, but our Fengyun Kingdom is not weak either. He also seemed to want to argue badly, wanting to let Prince Min know that there was no way Qingya would do such a thing. The responsibility was still on Little Nine. He was in pain. Even if he could not let go of Little Nine, he had to make a choice. After all, this disaster was brought by Little Nine, and she could not let others be punished for her. Hee, Sima Yen sneered. He looked around and saw that there were already many people who came to watch, so he held back his words. There were too many people here. He had no way to say it. Me for extra chapters. But, he turned to look at Princess Qingluo, sneering. Princess Qingluo has too many things that she hides from you. Mu Yi, no matter how many times we fight, I still admire you as a great person, just. Later I realized that you are only a stupid man used by others. Sima Yen gradually turned to Prince Min again. I hope you will not be too stupid like him. Otherwise, you will become the sinner of the entire Fengyun Kingdom. Become the sinner of the entire Fengyun Kingdom. It was the first time that Prince Min heard such a serious assumption from Sima Yan's mouth. Perhaps, Prince Min had now calmed down quite a bit and was not as overwhelmed by anger as he was at the beginning, or maybe he was not as convinced of Mu Qingya as others, so what the physician said still made him slightly suspicious. Just this suspicion was still somewhat faint. Compared to Mu Qingya, Little Nine also was not trusted so much by the people. General Sima, if you have something to say it immediately. He demanded coldly. Sima Yen sneered, about this. You should ask Princess Qingluo. In an instant, all eyes turned to Qingluo. Seeing those gazes upon her, Qingluo gritted her teeth and blushed embarrassingly. I don't know what you're talking about. It's already obvious. If Maiden Mu does not like someone, she will not frame her. Let alone still allow her to have a chance to be alive. Sima Yen turned to look at Lu Lan. You almost died just now by the hands of Mu Manor's physician. It was Maiden Mu who saved you. Little Nine saved me. Lu Lan was stunned. She stiffened and turned to look at the ninth emperor. Perhaps Nan Changfeng's behavior just now was so brutal that she had lost the feeling she just had toward him. After all, she was Prince Mint's granddaughter. She could get any man she wanted. Why should she suffer the wrath of a man? Even if this man was beautiful, his character was too cruel. She did not want to marry a man like this. If Mu Qingya did not say Nan Changfeng was greedy for power and prestige, she couldn't want to marry him so quickly. Just after that, Lu Lan's chest was about to explode, and she naturally did not look at Nan Changfeng again. At this moment, her gaze was locked upon little Nine. Her face was pale, and her body was trembling. Sima Yen also said that she was dying. However, just now, no one said to her that it was little Nine who saved her. This woman was vicious and sinister, so how could she have saved her? Grandfather, was it her who saved me just now? Lu Lan bit her lip and asked. Prince Min seemed conflicted, but he had never liked to lie. No matter how she treated Lu Lan before, little Nine did save her life as well. So, he nodded and said, "It was she who fed you something unknown that saved you." Lu Lan shook her head. Impossible. Qingya said little Nine is vicious. Why would she still save people? I don't believe it. Qingya can't possibly, she just wanted to say that Mu Qingya could not possibly lie to her. Me for extra chapters. Suddenly, recalling Nan Changfeng's attitude, it was difficult to hold back what was on the tip of her tongue. If Qingya lied, it meant that this young man was not a power-hungry person. Otherwise, he would accept the power of Prince Mint's manor rather than the emperor's son-in-law's manor. So why did he not like her? The ninth emperor glanced at Lu Lan coldly and then looked back to Mu Qingya. With the force of her fingers, she strangled Mu Qingya's neck. That feeling made Mu Qingya almost suffocate. Her face was red, and her breathing grew heavy. Mu Yi said in distress, "Little Nine, let your sister go, didn't you hear?" The ninth emperor ignored him. Her fingers once again, with a slight force, tightened around Mu Qingya's neck. Mu Qingya's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. Anxiously, Princess Qing Luo tears flowed. Old Lady Mu rushed over from the back with her cane, and what she saw at a glance was the ninth emperor fiercely strangling Mu Qingya. She cried in grief. "Mu Yi, can't you see that little bastard bullying your daughter? Why don't you hurry up and go beat this bastard to death?" Her body trembled with anger as she hit the ground with her cane fiercely. Earlier, it was the people of the Mu family who told her that something had happened outside. So, she hurried over, not knowing what had happened, and what she saw was Mu Qingya bullied by this little bastard. Mu Yi was here again. How could he let the wild girl bully Qingya? Was it Mu Yi's connivance? So, her cane fell fiercely upon Mu Yi's body, and her voice was filled with anger. Go on. Do you want to go against your mother? I asked you to get rid of the wild girl before, and you didn't, and now you allow her to bully your daughter. Don't forget that without Princess Qing Luo, you wouldn't be here today. Perhaps because of regret, Mu Yi did not dodge her attack. He allowed the cane to fall on his body fiercely. He closed his eyes in sorrow. If he had made little Nine leave earlier, these things would not have happened. As for what Sima Yen said, he did not take it to heart. Qing Luo could not have something to hide from him. After all, Qing Luo was so in love with him. You let Mu Qingya go first. Prince Mint's voice was hoarse as he said in a deep voice. No matter who was trying to harm his granddaughter, he would not let go, but now was not the time for little Nine to threaten Mu Qingya. She had to let her go first. Sima Yen shook his head and laughed bitterly. With these people, how would Fengyun Kingdom not be ruined? They were foolish. At this moment, a figure hurriedly came from behind the crowd and walked straight up to Prince Min. Prince Min. This was an old man, and everyone knew him. He was the physician of Prince Min's manor. This physician was so skilled in medicine. When the emperor offered him to become an imperial physician, he refused. Prince Min had saved his life, so he stayed in Prince Min's manor. He did not expect that Prince Min would invite him here. Mu Qingya bit her lip hard. Her body trembled, and her pale face was filled with horror. Of course, no one knew that her panic was due to this physician and not because of little Nine's current behavior. In their hearts, Mu Qingya was pure and kind. It was impossible that she would do such a thing. So this must all be little Nine's behavior to shirk responsibility. Therefore, seeing this physician appeared, their eyes widened, watching the good show, and they even looked at the ninth emperor contemptuously. Mu Yi did not see Qing Luo and Qinjia's faces, so he was quietly relieved. Fortunately, Prince Min was not overwhelmed and brought this physician. Otherwise, he was afraid that Qingya would be wronged. He did not know if the emperor's son-in-law's manner mistreated this physician or what, causing him to betray Qingya to protect himself. After this matter was taken care of, he would not let go of this physician when he returned. Prince Min looked at the old man in front of him. You can examine young Lady Liu's body to see if she has been poisoned before, me for extra chapters. Yes, the old man slowly stepped forward and raised his hand to touch Lu Lan's wrist gently. After half a second, a flash of surprise flashed in his eyes, and he let go of her hand. Young Lady Lu has indeed been poisoned. These words were like a heavy stick that smashed into everyone's heart. Mu Qingjia's body trembled even more. Even before this physician came, she was still holding on to a slight fluke. Since Lu Lan was fine, it proved that the toxin had been lifted, and there was no way to find out about the poison. So earlier, Little Nine's words were intended to deliberately blow up the physician of the emperor's son-in-law's manor. Yet, what she had not expected was that traces of the poison could still be found. Of course, Little Nine had saved Lu Lan, so she did not want to blame others. She would not cure her of the toxin completely and had left a small trace of it in her. It would not be so much to make Lu Lan get killed, but her life from now on would not be too good. Since she had been used, it was also time to pay the price. Chapter 2193, The Past Life 118. Ain't you just said that Laner was poisoned? Prince Min's eyes were filled with disbelief. Laner had been poisoned, so it meant that Little Nine's kick would not have killed her. It was because someone had wanted to use Lu Lan against Little Nine, and as a result, it almost killed his precious granddaughter. And that physician sighed lightly. This poison, it is a potent poison. I do not know what cure you have used to detoxify her of it, but usually, the poisoned person would certainly die. Die? Prince Min's eyes narrowed as he panted. The physician nodded slightly. Yes, the toxin is extracted from the mandala. It is a potent poison. It would take effect within an hour. The person will not die immediately, but the time of her death will not be too slow either. So I do not know what young lady has taken to cure the poison, within an hour. Then that meant Laner was poisoned 1 hour ago. What was she doing an hour before? She met Mu Qingya. And that Mu Qingya was complaining to her about being bullied. Laner is close to Mu Qingya. Since Mu Qingya was bullied, she would certainly not be quiet about it. That was why she ran over to settle accounts with Little Nine. She then was kicked by Little Nine, when she also happened to be poisoned, and almost died. Prince Min looked up. His bloodshot gaze was fixed upon Mu Qingya, his eyes were filled with anger. Mu Qingya. He gritted his teeth before he uttered these words. Mu Qingya trembled hard as she breathed laboriously with panic in her eyes. Mu Yi also froze. He turned to Mu Qingya, horrified. Impossible. Qingya has always been good-tempered, gentle, and kind. So how could it be possible for her to poison Lulan? Therefore, he gritted his teeth and stood up. Prince Min, there must be some misunderstanding. There is no way Qingya would do such a thing, me for extra chapters. When little Nine was misunderstood just now, he did not say a word in defense. Now that it was Mu Qingya instead, he panicked and started to explain on her behalf. It was ridiculous that he still kept thinking that he owed little Nine. Misunderstanding. Ha 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 ha. Prince Min laughed angrily. Your emperor's son-in-law's physician told me that what he said before was not true. But now, this is Prince Min's Manor's physician. Are you going to tell me that what he said is also a lie? His breathing grew heavy, and he questioned sternly, gritting his teeth. The physician became angry, stood up straight, and looked at Mu Yi. Does this mean that what I said is not true? Since you think my words are false, then let the imperial physician in the palace determine to see if what I said is true or not. Chapter 2194. The Past Life 119. Old Lady Mu had been frozen for a while now. It was only now that she collected her thoughts and pounced over to tug at that physician. You must have been bribed by this cheap girl. She is the one who wants to harm people, not Qingya. This cheap girl has a vicious mind and is full of evil. The one who deserves to die is her. She deserves to die. What's wrong with Mu Qingya? What's wrong with the Mu family? The only one who keeps making a mistake is little Nine. She deserves to die. The physician was a little angry and raised his hand to push the old lady to the ground. The old lady fell to the ground when she was caught off guard, and she cried out in pain like a child. You can't defend little Nine and be so unreasonable. It's her fault. Why do you want to accuse Qingya? Who doesn't know that Qingya usually can't even trample ants to death, so why would she harm Lulan? It's impossible. It is all because of you. She pointed at the group of people in front of her. It's you guys who are helping little Nine to harm Qingya, to drive Qingya away so that she can get into the... Before she finished her sentence, the ninth emperor had already walked up to the old lady, lifted her leg, and kicked her violently. She had kicked the old lady hard enough to knock her out of consciousness. As a result, everything went quiet. Mother. Mu Yi's eyes were red. He rushed toward the old lady and held the old lattice body up. His gaze was filled with grief and pain. Mother, what happened to you? Mother, do not scare me. Mu Yi indeed deserved the name of a filial son. At first, he was married to a woman he did not love due to filial piety. It could be seen how filial he was. Princess Qingluo's eyes flashed. She stepped up from the back and looked at Prince Min with a cold smile. Prince Min, you don't have any evidence pointing to Qingya, so you are not qualified to blame her either. One was the prince, and the other was the emperor's granddaughter. Therefore, even if he knew that Qingya did all these, he couldn't punish her. It was just that Lulan was too lucky not to die. Otherwise, would all these have happened? Prince Min's heart was filled with anger. Do you think I really won't do anything to kill her? My daughter is a noble lady. I am the princess of this kingdom. Princess Qingluo slightly raised her chin. She sneered. What rights do you have to make a move on us? Mu Yi's eyes were red. He slowly turned to Qingluo. Me for extra chapters. Qingluo, was it you guys who did this? He was still somewhat filled with disbelief and even felt despaired. Did Qingluo and Qingya do this? If this was the case, then they were destroying the emperor's son-in-law's manor. Princess, Sima Yan smiled as he stepped forward. Prince Min cannot get rid of you, but the emperor can. Qingluo sneered. I am his daughter, and I have not done anything to endanger his kingdom, so father will not hurt us. This was where her confidence lay. Sima Yan smiled faintly. Then, Princess can follow me to the palace to meet the emperor. Prince Min and Lu Lan can also follow along. After he said this, he turned to look at the ninth emperor. Maiden Mu, you and Nan Chongfeng can go home to rest. Don't worry. I will take care of these people for you. Don't bother yourself with any of this. Chapter 2195, The Past Life 120. The ninth emperor was indeed too lazy to care about these people. If she had time, she might as well find out the whereabouts of her mother sooner. With only a faint glance, she withdrew her gaze and turned to look at Nan Chongfeng. The moment she faced Nan Chongfeng, her gaze turned gentle. Let's go. Let's go home. It was a rare occasion that she wanted to go out for a spin, but who knew that she would run into these people from the Mu family, which would affect her mood. So, she might as well head home and wait for dinner. Nan Chongfeng smiled, and he nodded slightly, all right. However, before he left, he looked back at these people from the Mu family. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. However, he did not say anything before following the ninth emperor, leaving without looking at these people even once. Looking at the ninth emperor leaving, Mui choked as he wanted to say something. However, he understood that he really had no gut to see her again after today's incident. Perhaps, without his involvement, little Nine would live better than now after leaving Fengyun Kingdom. Therefore, Mui did not say anything. He turned to Mu Qingya, his eyes filled with intense pain. This time, old Lady Mu was not sent back to the Mu family. Sima Yan called a few people to carry her and ordered coldly, bring them to the palace to see the emperor first. The first thing they needed to do was to go to the palace. At most, it was just a lecture, and she was not afraid. Mu Qingya pursed her lips. For some reason, looking at Sima Yan's appearance, she could not help but feel a slight panic. Therefore, she turned to look at Qing Luo and asked, Mother, you don't have anything that you are hiding from me, do you? King Luo's heart fell. What? If you aren't hiding something from me, why is Sima Yan so confident? Mu Qingya looked worried. Me for extra chapters. Qing Luo was a little irritated. I said no. What? You don't even believe in your mother. Seeing King Luo's face, Mu Qingya opened her mouth, but she did not say anything in the end. Sima Yan saw this situation. Qing Luo still refuses to tell these people about the warning that the emperor has given her. He sneered, and did not say much, turned to look at Prince Min, you must also go with me to meet the emperor. Prince Min was very unhappy about Sima Yan's tone, but he knew that this time it was his fault for not getting the truth of the matter and almost killed an innocent. But if little Nine had not made a move against Lu Lan, wouldn't everything have been fine? He would not have misunderstood, and maybe, they would also have uncovered Mu Qingya sooner. In the end, little Nine herself was also used by Mu Qingya. Mu Qingya had deliberately poisoned Lu Lan, so he would misunderstand and blame little Nine. But this time, the emperor cannot defend you. He said that he would give justice to the ninth emperor. Now it was between Mu Qingya and Prince Min. One of them must pay the price. Chapter 2196, The Past Life 121. If he allowed the ninth emperor to take action, he was afraid that all these people would die mercilessly. That was why he finally said that. Even if they died, they would leave an intact corpse for them. Prince Min froze. He looked at Sima Yan in confusion, did not understand what Sima Yan meant by this. However, Sima Yan did not allow him to ask and had already stepped away. After seeing Sima Yan leave, everyone else followed. The few soldiers carrying old Lady Mu also followed behind him and went to the palace. As for Di Ming, after the ninth emperor left earlier, he hurriedly followed behind her. Only people sighing in the streets were left behind. This matter was done by Qingya, our noble lady. It can't be. Isn't Mu Qingya always kind, not even willing to trample ants to death, and the only one who treats her subordinates as human beings? But, it has been so obvious, and there is no existence of any lies. I think this must be related to noble lady. Everyone could not imagine that Mu Qingya would do such a thing. She was the goddess of all people in Fengyun Kingdom, sincere and kind, pure as an immortal. Altogether a fairy-like figure. Moreover, she and Lu Lan had always been in an excellent relationship. How could she even lay hands on young lady Lu Lan to frame little Nine? If that was true, what could she not do? Even regicide was possible. At the imperial palace, inside the imperial study room, a man in a yellow robe sat at the desk, flipping through the documents in his hand. Just then, the eunuch hurried in. Emperor, General Sima is waiting outside. Sima is here. The emperor was stunned. Let him in. Sima Yan always had nothing to come to him for, but now he was here. The emperor did not know what to expect. The moment Sima Yan walked in, the emperor froze. Behind him was a group of people. Mu Yi, Qing Luo, Mu Qingya, Prince Min, Lu Lan, and even Old Lady Mu was carried in. Me for extra chapters. The emperor was a bit confused as he froze and opened his mouth to ask. General Sima, what are you doing here? Why did you come into the palace with Prince Min? And what is with this emperor's son-in-law's family? Have I not given an order not to allow them to leave their residence? Did something else happen that he did not know about? The emperor was confused. A sense of unease subconsciously rose in his heart. This uneasiness made his heart beat faster, but then he calmed it. Emperor, Prince Min put his fist to his palm and said in a deep voice, Mu Qingya poisoned my granddaughter, Lu Lan. So please, do justice for Prince Min's manner. Poison Lu Lan. The emperor was even more confused. How could Mu Qingya have poisoned Lu Lan? Wasn't their relationship very good? Moreover, how could Mu Qingya do such a thing? The emperor rubbed his temples as he felt a headache coming. Is there some misunderstanding here? General Sima, tell me. What is going on? Hearing the emperor's words, Qing Luo seemed a little smug, and he glanced at Prince Min. See, even her father was saying that this must be a misunderstanding. This time, he would certainly not punish Qingya. And these people who wanted his mother to be punished would simply make a big mistake. Her father could not punish them. Old Lady Mu was also languidly awake. She just woke up to hear the emperor's words and immediately jumped up from the arms of those guards and glared at Prince Min. Chapter 2197, The Past Life 122. That's right. It is not Kinjia's fault. It must be a misunderstanding. It is little Nine. It is all her doing. This sentence made the emperor's head hurt. His face was pale, and his gaze was filled with panic. This. How did this relate to little Nine again? Mother. Mu Yi shouted in a deep voice. This is the imperial study room. You must respect the emperor and not shout like this. His mother was used to being arrogant outside. Now, inside the imperial study room, she had still not changed. It was really humiliating to him. Fortunately, the emperor at the moment was focused on old Lady Mu's sentence about little Nine, so he overlooked this old lattice rudeness. He raised his head and looked straight at Sima Yan questioningly. Emperor, Sima Yan kneeled and smiled bitterly. It is what you think. This matter has something to do with Maiden Mu. Otherwise, I would not have come. The emperor felt weak and could not stand up straight. Related to little Nine. These words sounded like a thunderclap exploding in the emperor's heart. He tried to protect himself left and right, but he could not defend himself. Sima Yan, tell me immediately about the situation. He sounded stern and angry. Prince Min looked at the emperor in surprise and frowned. Why did the emperor's attitude change as soon as he heard that it was related to Little Nine? Does the old emperor have interest in Little Nine? Which is why Sima Yan said such words before. The more Prince Min thought about it, the more likely that seemed to be the case. His face darkened. Sima Yan smiled coldly. Mu Qingya gave poison to young lady Lu Lan and fooled her by telling her that Little Nine bullied Mu Qingya. So Lu Lan was upset and went to Little Nine to settle scores. As a result, she was beaten up by Little Nine, me for extra chapters. Perhaps, because he was too angry, Sima Yan did not even address her as noble lady, but instead, he called Mu Qingya by her name. Little Nine kicked Lu Lan, who had been poisoned. Meanwhile, Mu Qingya ran to Prince Min's manor and brought Prince Min. Prince Min did not verify the truth and said that Little Nine killed Lu Lan. Even that physician of the emperor's son-in-law's manor also concluded that Lu Lan had received a heavy blow before she fell to the ground, concealing the fact that she was poisoned. If I wasn't there, I am afraid that this would have gone out of hand. Prince Min is afraid that Lu Lan's life cannot be saved on the spot, but fortunately, Little Nine has a kind heart. She saved her. Yet, after Lu Lan woke up, she also pointed the fault to Little Nine and scolded her. Even more, these people still assert that it must be Little Nine's fault. He stated all the things that happened then. The emperor's face changed dramatically after hearing these words. His face darkened. Even the anger in his eyes grew intense. How could he not be angry? The emperor's son-in-law's family was not allowed to go out to prevent them from causing trouble, but he did not know that these people would still try to find trouble with the ninth emperor. Had I known this, I should not have just confined you. I should have put all of you in prison or even killed you so that you would not cause trouble. Mu Qingya froze. She looked up at the emperor blankly. Grandfather wants to beat and kill me for Little Nine. Chapter 2198, The Past Life 123 inches. That instant, her heart went cold, feeling chilled by the emperor's words, and she was even looking at him with some disappointment. She never thought that her maternal grandfather would make such a choice. He was her maternal grandfather, not Little Nine. However, now, he said that he would kill them for Little Nine. Mu Qingya had never had such a cold heart, and now the emperor had made her experience this feeling of being abandoned by her loved ones. Even her eyes showed pain. Father, Princess Qingluo's eyes widened as she stared blankly at the emperor. What do you mean? It's hard to believe that you also want to treat us like this for Little Nine. I'm your daughter. You can't just care about your reputation. Shut up. The emperor pounded the table heavily, storming up in anger. Why didn't you listen to my words before? What have I told you? Did you take it all seriously? I told you not to mess with Little Nine. I told you not to mess with her, so why did you not listen to me? Now you've brought this on yourself. Qingluo's head exploded at that moment. She was shocked and took a few steps back, her eyes dull. She still did not understand why she could not provoke Little Nine. She was just a little bitch. Such a person did not deserve to live. However, Mu Yi stiffened. He turned to Qingluo with a blue face, even his breathing was a little chaotic. Tell me. What did the emperor say to you? Before this, Sima Yan had also mentioned it. He had pursued Qingluo, but Qingluo refused to say anything and said that Sima Yan had framed her. Now that the emperor had said it himself, no matter how stupid he was, it was impossible not to believe in the emperor's words. It seems that you did not tell them about what I said. The emperor sneered and stood up. He looked around, glancing at this group of people coldly. Do you know the ninth emperor? Mu Yi's gaze was dull as he nodded his head. Everyone in this mainland knew the ninth emperor. However, compared to other powerful people, the ninth emperor was deeply popular and was the god in people's hearts. But why did the emperor suddenly mention the ninth emperor? Me for extra chapters. Prince Min's heart also gradually surged out of unease. He clenched his fist, and his face was pale. The emperor would not mention the ninth emperor for no reason. Which meant that there must be something he did not know. Initially, General Sima did not allow you to go to bother Dongfang because back then, she was taken away by the ninth emperor. The emperor's face was cold and sullen. About this matter. I had mentioned it to Qing Luo. Not only the others, but even Mu Qingya also turned to Qing Luo, shocked. Her mother had never talked about it, so they still did not know that Dongfang Yu and that ninth emperor had a relationship. Emperor, Prince Min trembled a little. Then, what is the relationship between Dongfang Yu and Little Nine? The ninth emperor was the most protective person, and everyone knew that, but what could Dongfang Yu and Little Nine have to do with each other? Why should she be mentioned? Qing Luo gritted her teeth. What relationship can there be? Who can guarantee that the ninth emperor has not driven Dongfang Yu out after so many years? She is now Little Nine's servant, that's all. Who said that Dongfang Yu must always follow the ninth emperor? Yes, no one could guarantee that Dongfang Yu was still following the ninth emperor. So her father could not punish her, his daughter, just because of Dongfang Yu. Chapter 2199, The Past Life 124-inch Foolish. The emperor looked at Princess Qing Luo angrily. You still think until now that the ninth emperor drove Dongfang Yu out? What kind of person is the ninth emperor? Whatever she takes in, she will always keep in. She would never do such a thing as disowning people. Princess Qing Luo pursed her lips and did not say a word. The emperor slowly closed his eyes, trembling. Only after a second did he open his eyes and looked at Princess Qing Luo. As for why she is by Little Nine's side, it is because of Little Nine. She is the ninth emperor. Little Nine is the ninth emperor. This statement was like a peal of sudden thunder, falling with a bang, smashing into the brains of everyone present, causing their heads to go blank. Little Nine is the ninth emperor. Impossible. How can Little Nine be the ninth emperor? Mu Yi froze. His face was pale as he turned and gazed at Qing Luo. The emperor said that Little Nine. She's the ninth emperor. He clenched his fists tightly, his heart could not stop trembling. No matter how Mu Yi thought, he couldn't link Little Nine to the ninth emperor. But, the emperor had said that, so it must be true. Faster than Mu Yi was Prince Min, as his fist, like the wind, quickly smashed into King Luo's face. She looked up and saw Prince Min's angry face. At this moment, Prince Min's eyes were filled with waves of monstrous anger. Tell me, what is going on here? This punch caused King Luo's face to turn blue, and her face was pale as she took a few steps back. I won't believe it. Little Nine can never be that ninth emperor. It's impossible. What kind of thing was Little Nine? The ninth emperor was the most influential person who shocked the world, so what could she have to do with Little Nine? Father must have been deceived. Father, it's Sima Yan. He's the one lying to you. Qing Luo turned to look at Sima Yan, gritting her teeth. I know very well what Little Nine is like. She is sinister and malicious. She even laid hands on Qingya, but that ninth emperor has always been open and honest, so how can she be the ninth emperor? Yes, up to now, Qing Luo still did not believe the emperor's words. She was in disbelief, and the way she looked at Sima Yan was filled with hatred. Me for extra chapters. This time, even Mu Qingya did not help her. Mu Qingya had always known her grandfather. If he had not gotten the details of the information, he could not have been so sure of Little Nine's identity. So, Little Nine was the ninth emperor. Mu Qingya clenched her fists tightly and gently closed her eyes. Her heart was sinking. She was somewhat unable to extricate herself. She could not control the trembling heart no matter how hard she tried. Old Lady Mu also shook her head and shouted, "Little Nine is a little bitch. How much can that bitch be capable of? Still, to be the ninth emperor, it's simply ridiculous. You must have made a mistake." The emperor grew angrier. "It seems that you guys think that I am lying to you." His voice was so harsh that it scared Qing Luo into kneeling. "Father, I did not think like that." "No." The emperor sneered. "If you refuse to admit that Little Nine is the ninth emperor, then that means you think that I am lying to you. I don't care whether you believe it or not, but today, I must give justice to her for this matter." Chapter 2200, The Past Life 125. I must give justice to this matter. These words made Princess Qingluo's heart tremble even more. Lu Lan had not said a word. She seemed miserably pale with panic. If Little Nine was the ninth emperor, she could not help but remember what she had just said to the ninth emperor, and her body shivered. Even her eyes were all filled with despair. This despair was so evident that it also made her face look very ugly. This time, Mu Qingya not only wanted to harm her but also wanted to harm the entire Prince Mince manor. Why? How exactly did she wrong her? Why did she want to harm them so much? After coming back to her senses, Lu Lan lunged toward Mu Qingya. Her voice was heartbreaking, and her gaze was all filled with despair. "Why? Why did you lie to me? And you still want to harm my family? That is the ninth emperor. That is the ninth emperor that everyone in the mainland fears, so why did you do this to me?" Her tears flowed down her face. Her whole body was trembling, and she slapped Mu Qingya's face fiercely. She had used a lot of force in this angry slap. However, Mu Qingya did not dodge it and simply accepted this slap. Mu Qingya's brain went blank. Her body also stiffened, and her eyes were filled with disbelief. Maybe Mu Qingya also could not understand why her mother would want to hurt her like this. Everyone's expressions were filled with anger, and all eyes fell upon Qing Luo. Qing Luo was still arguing on her own behalf. "It's not like that. You must have listened to other people's lies. If Little Nine is the ninth emperor, if it's easy for her to go back to Mu Yi, why didn't she snatch Mu Yi away? Yes, if Little Nine were the ninth emperor, she would have snatched Mu Yi away long ago." Old Lady Mu was such a materialistic person. If she knew that she was the ninth emperor, she would have gone to kiss her feet. Why would she still care about Qingya? Take a look at the people around the ninth emperor. Mu Yi. She doesn't even give a damn about him and doesn't need him. The people around the ninth emperor. What do you mean about the people around Little Nine? Dong Fangyu, and the other servants. The strength of all of them is above me, boom. These words were like a stick that smashed them all head on. Me for extra chapters. It made Qingluo's face turn even paler. She was still slyly arguing in her heart, but in the end, she did not utter that word again. As for that Nan Changfeng, Sima Yen sneered, his strength is profound. I also do not know what realm he is in. The ridiculous thing is that Qingya, the kingdom's noble lady, claimed that Nan Changfeng had taken a fancy to her. Considering the ninth emperor's excellence, it is ridiculous. Mu Qingya had said that to many people. Even Mu Yi turned to Mu Qingya. Mu Qingya's lips trembled. Her face was pale. Her body was shivering uncontrollably, and she seemed frightened. At first, she only saw Nan Changfeng's beauty, thinking that he was only beautiful at best, but how could he be so powerful? It must be Sima Yan lying to her again. Earlier, Mu Qingya had also slandered Qing Luo in her heart, but when it came to her, she started to deceive herself and was not willing to believe what others said. This was human nature. They start denying things once the consequences of their actions are unmanageable. Chapter 2201, The Past Life 126-inch Ridiculous. The Emperor sneered. He was disappointed with his granddaughter to the core. He never expected that both his daughter and granddaughter would be so stupid. 1. Refused to admit little Nine's identity, had been deceiving herself and others, while the other one had slandered little Nine so much. But, Sima Yan sneered. Nan Changfeng had never looked at you since he appeared. On the contrary, it is you who, I think, have fallen in love with Nan Changfeng. Mu Yi was stunned. His eyes were filled with disbelief. Princess Qing Luo might act this way, but Qingya had always obeyed him. How could she do such a thing? He closed his eyes slowly and painfully. You all take me for a fool. So, were they all deceiving him? Ha 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 ha. Mu Yi could not help but laugh wildly, and that laughter carried despair. There were even tears flowing from his eyes. Old Lady Mu took a few steps back, muttering, impossible. What is she capable of? Little Nine, it is impossible, yet she had to believe it. The Emperor closed his eyes, as well. Listen here. Mu Qingya and Prince Min are sent to prison to be disposed of by me on a day chosen. Mu Qingya, she framed others, plotting to kill Lu Lan, and on a day will be executed. These last two words were like a peal of thunder that made Mu Qingya tremble. Her grandfather wanted to kill her. Did he decide to kill her? No. Qing Luo loved her daughter so much. She panicked, jumped before the emperor, crying bitterly. Father, I only have Qingya. These are all my fault. Please do not execute Qingya, please, please. Her voice was hoarse, and her expression was sorrowful. The emperor slowly opened his eyes. Qing Luo, she poisoned Lu Lan. It is enough to put her to death. When the emperor's family broke the law, it's the same crime as the common people. Don't you understand this? Moreover, the 9th emperor is involved. I must give justice to her. Otherwise, this entire Fengyun kingdom would be dragged down by this pair of stupid mother and daughter. Qing Luo bit her lip hard. She took a few steps back with her eyes filled with despair. Mu Qingya's face was pale, and her pleading gaze fixed upon Mu Yi. Mu Yi's heart ached a little as he saw Mu Qingya's eyes. Me for extra chapters. After all, she was his daughter that he had loved for many years. I'll go beg little Nine. Qingya, you must wait for me. Mu Yi suppressed the panic inside and turned around to walk outside the imperial study room. Old Lady Mu was still shocked. Her old face was pale. In fact, to a selfish person like her, if the existence of Qing Luo and Qingya made her lose her role as an authority, then why would she still care about these people's lives? Her mind was full of the emperor's words. Little Nine is the 9th emperor. At that moment, her gray eyes instantly cooled for a moment. That was right. If little Nine was the 9th emperor, it would only benefit her and not harm her. After all, the younger must be filial to the elder. The 9th emperor. Such a person was the most reliable. She would never let others say anything. So even if she were forced, she would force little Nine to be filial to her. By then, she could also enjoy the fame, which was more than when the princess gave her. Old Lady Mu did not care about Mu Qingya's life, but only about her interests. So, everyone knew what kind of shameless person this old lady was. Chapter 2202, The Past Life 127. However, at this moment, no one was paying attention to Old Lady Mu anymore. Looking at the group of people pulling Mu Qingya out, King Luo's gaze was filled with despair. She felt like her sky had collapsed, and for the first time, she regretted what she had done. If she had not targeted little Nine. If she had not been so jealous, would her daughter have been in trouble, and would the Emperor's son-in-law's manor had been dragged down by her? Father, I know that she is wrong, and she knows that she is wrong. She kowtowed frantically. Blood seeped from a wound on her forehead, but she still seemed to be unaware of it as she kowtowed desperately. When the Emperor saw King Luo's appearance, he could not bear it, but when he thought of what she had done, a wave of anger surged to his heart once more. Someone, take Qing Luo away and lock her up too. The Emperor forced himself to seem cold. Qing Luo, this is the price you must pay. Qing Luo trembled and slowly closed her eyes. Yes, this was the price she must pay. Qing Luo spurted a mouthful of blood, and her body fell backward. The Emperor ordered someone to help Qing Luo up and then take her out to lock her up. Prince Min clenched his fists tightly, and his resentful gaze was fixed upon Qing Luo and her daughter being dragged away. His heart was about to explode with anger. I blame Qing Luo and Mu Qingya. If it weren't for them, this wouldn't have happened. However, even if Prince Min regretted it, it was already useless. He could only blame himself for being too stupid and trusting this pair of snake women. Everyone had been dragged out of the room. Old Lady Mu did not make a big mistake and was not locked up. Looking at the empty imperial study room, the Emperor seemed to have aged a few dozen years. His daughter and his granddaughter, how could he not be heartbroken? Yet again, there was no way. He must settle it quickly. General Sima, it was my mistake. It was my mistake before. The Emperor caressed his face as his tears rolled down his weathered face. I was too indulgent of Qingya, which made her so ignorant and even almost harmed the whole kingdom, me for extra chapters. This is because I, to the end, still pitied them. I did not bear to lock them up. I just let them stay in the Emperor's son-in-law's manor and ordered people to guard them not to let them out. If I had been more ruthless, if I had just imprisoned all of them, then all of these would not happen, and they might have been safe. Indulging a son was like killing a son. This was the same for granddaughters. It was ridiculous that he had always thought that Qingya was well-behaved and understanding, but he did not know that she could still do such a thing. Emperor, it is not your fault. Even if you lock them up, they still have other ways to escape. Sima Yan sighed. But I do not understand. The princess and noble lady have everything. Why do they hold such great resentment against little Nine? And in this matter, Mu Yi also did not do any right. He abandoned little Nine and chose the Emperor's family. This man is greedy. I think the 9th Emperor will not forgive him, Sima Yan said and smiled again. Not only would she not forgive him, it seemed that even before, the 9th Emperor also did not care for him, considering that he had been bugging and trying to get the 9th Emperor back home. Putting aside which home he had now, but could there be a good end to have the 9th Emperor back? Chapter 2203, The Past Life 128. It was also fortunate that little Nine was the 9th Emperor. If it were any ordinary woman, she might not be able to keep herself safe in this storm. After leaving the palace, Mu Yi ran straight to the courtyard where the 9th Emperor lived. He was out of breath, and his face was all sweaty. But, he stopped in front of the gate, hesitating. He put his hand on the gate but then withdrew it. He had previously done countless things to hurt little Nine, and now, he wanted to ask for her forgiveness. He was afraid she might not forgive him either. However, Kinjia's life was already in her hands. Even if Mu-yi was reluctant, he finally raised his hand and opened the gate. It was quiet. However, Mu-yi did not dare to enter without permission. After all, when he entered before, he fell into the formation, and it took a long time to come out. There was no time to wait. Therefore, he could not waste a single moment. Otherwise, Qingya would be in danger. Little 9, Mu-yi finally took a few steps back and stood right in the doorway. His voice was filled with grief and pain, and he spoke in a fatherly way. I know you are still angry with me. You do not forgive me for not listening to you. Not to mention that I married another person who caused you to run away from home for years. No matter how angry you are, I am always your father. The same blood still runs in both our veins. Can you bear to ignore it? I know Qingya was too much this time. But she has been punished, so, please. Can you spare her life? You can remove her strength or throw her out, or even exile her to the savage land, but I beg you, please spare her life. He stroked his robe and knelt. A father kneeling to his daughter would have been too much for this world to see. The sky was clear, without any thunder roar. Mu-yi's eyes filled with deep pain. However, the answer to him was only silence. Silence. As if nothing had happened. Please, spare her a life. No matter what, as long as Mu Qingya was still alive, then there was hope. But if she died, there would be nothing left. Even if she were sent to the savage land, with Kinjia's intelligence, she would definitely find a way to survive. It was better than dying in this place. Me for extra chapters. Creak, the gate was finally opened. Mu-yi's eyes flashed with joy, and he raised his head. After seeing the girl standing in the doorway, his eyes darkened again. It was not little 9. That girl, she had refused to see him after all. Mu-yi smiled bitterly, and his heart was cold. His entire body was a little stiff, but he kept kneeling on the ground and did not move. Standing at the door was Dongfangyu. She looked at Mu-yi kneeling on the ground and frowned. She was a little dissatisfied with his behavior and hummed. You must leave. She doesn't want to see you. Mu-yi kowtowed hard. Fresh blood flowed from his forehead, causing Dongfangyu to frown again. Please, let me see her. Just one glance. If little 9 did not help him, then no one could save Qingya. Mu Qingya was his only daughter. They had lived together for so many years. How could he not be heartbroken? Chapter 2204, The Past Life 129. Looking at Mu-yi in front of him, Dongfangyu pursed her lips and did not say a word. Before, when the 9th emperor was framed, Mu-yi immediately gave up on her, and now that Mu Qingya was placed in such a situation, everything had changed. He could come to the door to beg the 9th emperor for Mu Qingya. But why did he want to give up on her that day? Mu-yi was still kowtowing fiercely. The blood from his forehead flowed to the ground, staining the ground red. However, he seemed to be unaware of the pain and did not stop. I want to see little 9. Please, let me see little 9 once. If he waited any longer, maybe Mu Qingya would be sentenced to death. His daughter. How could he not save her when seeing her about to die? There was grief in Mu-yi's eyes, and there was a little determination in his eyes. It seemed that if he did not see the 9th emperor today, he would not leave this place. Mu-yi. Dongfangyu put down her hands that were crossed before her chest and looked coldly at Mu-yi, kneeling on the ground. Earlier, I heard everything from Tianxian. You can go to such an extent for Mu Qingya, but why, when my master was in danger, your first reaction was to give up on her? Mu-yi froze and closed his eyes as if in deep pain. Back then, he had no other thoughts. He only knew that if he helped little 9, it would inevitably cause the wrath of Prince Min, and then, even the whole emperor's son-in-law's family would be implicated. If the emperor's son-in-law's family were involved, Qingya would also be dragged down. So, he gave up on little Nine before Mui thought of the choice at the beginning. His face was even paler and seemed to be filled with grief. He felt sorry for little Nine. Even if little Nine had grievances toward him, Qingya was still young. She did not know what to do but to make such a mistake. Can you help me to tell little Nine, those were all my fault, and I beg her to forgive Qingya. Qingya is still a child. I am a father who did not teach her well, allowing her to make such a mistake. Dongfang Yu sneered. Indeed. You did not teach her well. Fortunately, the 9th emperor left you long ago, or else I do not know what will happen to her. Faced with Dongfang Yu's sneer, Mui did not have any courage to retort. His heart felt like it had been hit hard, and it stung. It was clear that he wanted to make up for little Nine initially, so why did it turn out this way in the end? Me for extra chapters. I'm sorry. It's my fault. I'm sorry. He, once again, knocked his head hard on the ground. Fresh blood flowed. He was surrounded by many people who had suddenly gathered around, all of them pointing at the courtyard. I heard that the one living in this courtyard is little Nine, the daughter of the Mu family. How can little Nine be so cruel as to let her father kneel outside and kowtow to her without even coming out to see him? I did hear that Mu Qingya wanted to harm Prince Min's granddaughter just now, and it also involved little Nine. Mu Qingya has been taken away by Prince Min. I don't understand why Mu Yi came begging to see little Nine. No matter what, Mu Yi is her father. She shouldn't treat her father like this. Even if the father had made a huge mistake, a son or daughter had no right to make the father kneel. If little Nine was like this, was she not afraid of being struck by lightning and never to be reincarnated? Chapter 2205. The Past Life 130. Dongfang Yu glanced at those people present, and her eyes became even colder. Hearing those people's words, Mu Yi's eyes lit up. He bit his lip hard and continued to kowtow. This time, he kowtowed even harder. It seemed that with the help of those people's opinions, they could make little Nine come out to see her. Dongfang Yu looked at Mu Yi and could not help but laugh out loud. Look! Before, he gave up the 9th emperor for Mu Qingya. Now, he came to force the 9th emperor for Mu Qingya's sake. I don't know what kind of sins the 9th emperor has to meet such a person. It's heartbreaking. Dongfang Yu began to feel sorry for the 9th emperor. Perhaps, even the 9th emperor did not want to have such a father. Moreover, to the 9th emperor, her father had long gone. Little Nine, I know you are angry, but Qingya is your sister. As long as you are willing to forgive her, the emperor said he would let Qingya go. Please, these are my fault, so kill me instead. I am also willing, but please help Qingya. His voice was sorrowful, with despair, and heartbreaking. However, no one but silence answered him. Only the light breeze brushed the leaves and made a rustling sound. In the crowd, those people once again discussed, looking at Mu Yi with sympathy. How can sisters have such a feud? I don't understand why they don't forgive her. The emperor has said that she only needs to forgive Qingya to save her. If it were me, I would have forgiven long ago. Do I still need my father to kneel in front of the door? If Qingya wants to harm her, that must be her fault. Otherwise, how can others want to harm her for no reason? But she is so sneaky. Such a person really cannot become successful. Indeed, Qingya is a good person. She usually treats our people so well. Where do we find such a good noble lady? If she had not first provoked noble lady, would noble lady have made a move against her? Such people will never reflect on themselves, let alone change themselves, but only think that it's someone else's problem and want to kill them all. The crowd sneered. It was as if the ninth emperor had done something unforgivable. Dongfang Yu only listened calmly, but in the end, she could not hold it back anymore. Me for extra chapters. She was angry. These years, the ninth emperor had done so much for the people, but in the end, these people were so indiscriminate. They only thought of helping Mu Yi. Was filial piety greater than heaven? Ridiculous. People like Mu Yi did not deserve a daughter like the ninth emperor. Do you guys think that this matter is all my master's fault? She smiled sarcastically as she slowly walked toward the crowd. Isn't this her fault? Get that little nine to come out and see what has happened to her old father. The man was emotional, and his gaze was filled with anger. Anyone else with a conscience wouldn't be able to endure it, and what makes her think that the emperor will really kill noble Lady Qingya? The emperor is only giving her a warning. Otherwise, why didn't he look for Prince Min when Qingya poisoned Lulan? That's because Prince Min knows what's important and knows that Qingya has no bad intention, but this little nine is a scourge. The emperor has given her a chance, but she ignored it. This kind of person will never have a good end. Initially, some people in the crowd were curious about why the emperor would spare Mu Qingya only if little nine forgave her. Chapter 2206, The Past Life 131. When the man said that, it became clear. So this is why the emperor is trying to give her a chance. But she did not cherish it as she was bullying others and being arrogant. Mu Yi's heart was filled with guilt. I'm sorry, little nine, I have no way to help you, and now I can only use these people to save your sister. After all, what you have lost is only your reputation, but what your sister will lose is her life. In the future, you will mature, grow up, and will certainly understand my pain, so I'm sorry. He closed his eyes sorrowfully and continued to smash his head hard on the ground, allowing the blood to flow and stain the ground red. Dongfang Yu scanned the crowd coldly, and a stern light flashed in her eyes. She was about to speak when a lazy voice spoke from behind her. Dongfang Yu. This voice made Dongfang Yu pause and hold back all the words she was about to say and turn her head to look at the ninth emperor. Standing by the gate was the ninth emperor with a smile. She was the absolute beauty of the city. Those who had not seen her before could not help but be stunned as amazement filled their eyes. It turned out that this little nine was so good-looking. They had also heard that she bewitched even Qingya's future husband. Now, it seemed that she was indeed like a vixen with the ability to seduce people. Little nine, the moment he saw little nine, Mu Yi's eyes lit up for a moment. He stood up from the ground and stumbled toward the ninth emperor. Naively, he had not yet reached her, and little nine had raised her leg. She fiercely kicked Mu Yi away. Mu Yi fell to the ground in a heap. He coughed, raised his head, and looked at her with a shocked gaze. Why? Why is little nine so cruel to me? Those people who gathered around were also frozen. No one could have imagined that little nine would act in such a way. This man was her father. How could she be so cruel to her father? Me for extra chapters. They thought she was unfilial, but now it seemed to be more than unfilial. How did God not kill this woman yet? Who are you? Father. The ninth emperor lowered her head and looked at Mu Yi from a standing position. Her face was cold and expressionless. Mu Yi braced himself and stood up with his sad and painful gaze. What do you mean by that? Little nine, you don't even want to acknowledge me as your father now. He closed his eyes sadly. His eyes carried a sense of pain. The ninth emperor sneered. You are only Mu Qingya's father and not mine. Her voice was bland, but it made Dongfang Yu look at her with heartache. After all, the ninth emperor had already been so disappointed that she could bring herself to say this. Mu Yi, however, still came to find trouble with her again and again. The Mu family was not good. No, anyone with the surname Mu was not good. Dongfang Yu hummed, looked at Mu Yi's gaze with a bit of disdain and mockery. Ninth Emperor, I was just about to drive these people away before you came out. I was afraid that these people would hurt your ears, so you'd better go in first. I'll take care of it. There is no need, the Ninth Emperor sneered and smirked. The formation can't stop the noise, so I had to come out. Chapter 2207, The Past Life 132. After hearing these words from the Ninth Emperor, Dongfang Yu felt even more guilty. If it were not for her lack of competence, the Ninth Emperor would not have had to come out to solve this matter herself. She pursed her lips and looked at Mu Yi angrily. The Ninth Emperor put her hands down and walked toward Mu Yi. Each step made Mu Yi's heart tremble more, but he did not dare to stop kowtowing. Do you think when you kowtow and die here, it will soften my heart to let Mu Qingya go? Or do you think that by having so many people around, I will give in to public opinion and forgive her? Mu Yi was stunned and bowed his head. Little Nine, I do not mean this. If that's not the case, then what do you mean by this? The Ninth Emperor sneered, leaned down, and looked at Mu Yi. Mu Yi, even if you die in front of me, I will not let her go. Why should I let a person who wants to harm me alive? In my case, there is no way to repay grudges with virtue. In my case, there is no such thing as repaying a grudge with virtue. These words made Mu Yi's heart tremble even more. He was covered in blood when he lunged toward the Ninth Emperor. Little Nine, I don't believe that you are such a person. You were kind before. How could you have turned out like this? You will let her go. After all, she is your sister. Sister. These two words made the Ninth Emperor sneer. He is just your daughter, not my sister. Besides, you and I didn't have any relationship before. Mu Yi raised his head sharply and stared at the Ninth Emperor in shock. What do you mean by that? I'm your father. Why do you think I didn't have any relationship with you before? Little Nine, do you want your father to die in front of you before you are willing to let her go? His eyes were filled with grief and desire as he looked at the Ninth Emperor. It was as if what the Ninth Emperor had done was an extreme evil. Are you my father? She looked at Mu Yi coldly and asked sternly. Mu Yi trembled, and a flash of weakness crossed his eyes. That weakness was so obvious that it was difficult for the Ninth Emperor not to find out. Little Nine, you are Little Nine of the Mu family. If I am not your father, then who is? Can you not disown me? His tone was filled with despair, and he kept looking at the Ninth Emperor. The Ninth Emperor chuckled. Some time ago, I found a painting in the cellar. The person in that painting is my mother. The painting was a fox, but she knew that her mother was the spirit beast. Me for extra chapters. Anne. She was a beast man. She had not told this secret to anyone yet. Perhaps even Mu Yi must not know that her mother was a spirit beast. After all, if they knew who she was, the Mu family and that old lady would not easily let her go. Beastmen were special creatures and could also help others cultivate. Usually they would be endlessly pursued and killed. Of course, when it came to people like Old Lady Mu, once she knew that her mother was a beastman, Old Lady Mu would sell her to others. Fortunately, these people did not know about it. Otherwise, she would not be able to resist. But now, even if the world knew that she was a beastman, no one could do anything to her anymore. Mu Yi panicked even more and clenched his fists tightly. I do not understand. What do you mean by that? It's just a painting. Chapter 2208, The Past Life 133. Are you sure it is only a painting? The Ninth Emperor walked toward Mu Yi with a smile. Her smile was a little cold, sending a chill down people's spine. Mui panicked even more. He tried to calm the panic inside, but his face was still pale. Impossible. Little Nine can't know about that. Back then, my mother was pregnant with me and was seriously injured and lost her memory. You took her just because you saw her beauty. Mui's eyes filled up with panic as he clenched his fists harder, and his heart trembled more. Little Nine, I don't know what you are talking about. You are my daughter, no doubt. You can't say these just because you don't want to save Qingya. His gaze was filled with grief and also some disappointment, as if Little Nine did not want to save Mu Qingya before dissociating herself from him. But, Little Nine was the only hope. He wanted to hold on to her tightly, and it was impossible to let her go. My mother remembered everything after seeing that painting. And after my mother recovered her memory, she left this place. You know that I am not your daughter, too, so back then, Mu-Yi was not very kind to her, but she was still grateful to Mu-Yi for giving her a year of warmth. Before, she did not know that she and Mu-Yi did not have a father-daughter relationship, but she still did not intend to disturb him. Not bothering him was the best thing to give in return to him. It was just that Mu-Yi had been bugging her, making her annoyed, and what Mu Qingya did was all her own doing. No one could blame her. Mu-Yi kneeled on the ground. His blood flowed, and he felt a burst of pain on the forehead. However, the pain in his forehead could not be compared to the coldness in his heart. The crowd was shocked. Little Nine is not Mu-Yi's daughter. However, even if she is not Mu-Yi's daughter, Mu-Yi took care of her for so many years. Considering how he is her adoptive father, how could she make things so difficult for him? They were very ignorant and did not understand Little Nine. Moreover, the Ninth Emperor lowered her head and smirked. Her eyes were cold. Even if I let her go, the others will not let her go. Instead of pleading for her here, you should go and pick a better grave for her, me for extra chapters. Mu-Yi's body trembled, and he closed his eyes in despair. Yes, Little Nine was not his daughter. This had been known to him for a long time, but he had long treated her as his daughter. So many years of father-daughter love between them, and even his care for her was all real. Even if Little Nine had returned, he would still feel guilty. Initially, this guilt should not exist because he had sincerely treated Little Nine as his daughter. Little Nine, I have taken care of you for so many years, so can you please forgive Qingya? Mu-Yi raised his head, and his voice carried a deep pain. Dongfang Yu on the side was a little dumbfounded. She blinked as her eyes were filled with dismay. She had never thought that Mu-Yi was not the Ninth Emperor's father. In this way, many things would make sense. It was expected for Mu-Yi to love Mu Qingya so much, and he would not give up Mu Qingya for the Ninth Emperor's sake. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.